Continuing the important questions from now muscle physiology chapter. Question number 41. What is molecular basis of muscular contraction? Hulek's and Hulek's sliding filament theory. The process by which the shortening of the contractile element in the muscle is brought about, it is the sliding of actin filament over the myosin filament. Question number 42. How sliding of filaments is brought about in the muscle? By formation of the cross bridge between the head of the myosin and the actin molecule. What happens to width of A and I bands during the muscular contraction? The width of A and I bands remains constant, whereas Z line moves closer together. Important definition. Muscle consists of contractile component actin and myosin, which lies parallel to connective tissue sheets called parallel elastic component PEC, and in series with the tendons called series elastic component SEC. Contractile component actin and myosin activate active tension in the muscle. Passive stretching of the muscle, stretching of the parallel elastic component and series elastic component leads to passive tension. Active tension plus passive tension is equals to total tension. Resistance to stress is mainly due to the series elastic component and some by parallel elastic component. Optimal length. The length of the muscle at which it develops maximum active tension or on contraction is called optimal length. Resting length. The muscle length at which it is present under the natural conditions in the body in relaxed state. The length of many of the muscles in the body in rest is the optimal length. Equilibrium length is the length of the relaxed muscle cut free from the bony attachments. Initial length is the length of the muscle before it contracts. What do you understand by isometric contraction? Give examples and physiological significance. Isometric contraction. Iso means the same measure, or iso means same, metric means measure or length. It occurs when the muscle length remains the same and no external work is done. How? Any shortening in the muscle length due to the contraction of contractile component actin and myosins gets compensated by stretching of this series elastic component. As distance moved is very small, therefore negligible amount of external work is done by the muscle. Examples: anti-gravity muscles which help in maintaining the posture against the gravity. Contraction of the arm muscles when trying to push a wall. Supporting objects in hands in a fixed position. Physiological significance. Isometric contractions are important because they stabilizes some joints and others are moved. What is isotonic muscle contraction? Support your answer with the help of the example. Isotonic contraction means same tension. It occurs when the length of the muscle changes while the tension remains constant. Therefore, external work is done. For example, when the leg muscles are moved in walking and running or while lifting a load. Significance: such contractions are used for body movements and for moving objects. What is length tension relationship in skeletal muscles? What is its physiological significance? It is a relationship between the muscle length and the tension. It signifies the active tension is maximum when muscle's length is in its optimal length. Define motor unit. Give its properties. Definition: each single motor neuron and all the muscle fibers it supplies is known as motor unit. A single motor neuron and along all the muscles fibers it supplies is called as a motor unit. Significance: this is the smaller part of the muscle that can be made to contract independently. Properties: the number of muscle fibers in the motor unit varies inversely with the precision of the movement performed. Therefore, muscles of the hands and eye concerned with a fine graded movement contains 3 to 6 muscle fibers per motor unit. In leg and back muscles, there are 120 to 165 muscle fibers per motor unit. All the muscle fibers in the motor unit are of same type, either red or white. Types: fast motor units, innervate white or fast muscle fibers, or a slow motor unit, innervate red, which are slow muscle fibers. Recruitment of motor unit with the minimal voluntary activity, that is, with minimal voluntary activity a few motor units discharge, and with increasing the voluntary effort more units are brought into play. What is graduation of muscle response? Give the factors on which it depends. The graded muscle response what is the gradation in the muscle response, and give the factors which it depends. The graded muscle response occurs when a muscle contraction with a different degree of force under the situation. It depends on number of motor units activated at a time, frequency of discharge, duration of in which motor units are being stimulated, and resting length of the muscle. Differentiate between the white and red muscle fibers. White, fast glycolytic muscle fibers or type 2. Red, slow oxidative muscle fibers or type 1. White are pale and large in diameter with high glycogen capacity and ATPase activity. Red, dark with moderate diameter, glycogen capacity with low ATPase activity. White muscle fibers are innervated by large and fast conducting motor neurons, size principal neurons. Red muscle fibers are innervated by small and slow conducting motor neurons. White muscle fibers have short twitch duration, that is 7.5 milliseconds, and are specialized for fine, rapid and skilled movement. Example, extraocular muscles and muscles of the hand. The twitch duration is 100 milliseconds, and they are adapted for long, sustained or slow posture maintaining contraction. Example, long muscles of the limbs and the muscles of the back. Get fatigued easily. Resistance to fatigue and most used muscles are red muscle fibers, whereas white muscle fibers are situated for high intensity workouts that can be situated only for short time period. Red muscle fibers required for to perform low intensity work over long period of time, such as athletes. Note, the percentage of fast and slow muscle fibers within each muscle is genetically determined, and it cannot be changed by physical training. What do you understand by the muscle dystrophy, and what is its physiological basis? Syndrome characterized by the progressive muscle weakness cause mutation in dystrophin gene, which leads to congenital defect in the dystrophin glycoprotein complex, a complex that binds the thin filament to the transmembrane protein in the sarcolemma, which leads to the decrease in the support and strength of the myofibrils. What are the forms of muscular dystrophy? The dystrophin is absent from the muscle. It starts at 3 to 10 years of age, and it is characterized by progressive proximal muscle, that is girdle weakness. Therefore, the child finds difficult in raising to the erect position and uses his hands. Becker's or dystrophin is either absent in small amounts or get altered. It starts at an age of 5 to 15 years of age. Features are similar to the Duchenne's muscular dystrophy. What is energy source for muscular contraction? The only intermediate energy source for muscular contraction is ATP. This ATP must be continuously renewed from the breakdown of glucose, and it is stored it's stored from glycogen, that is aerobic glycolysis. During heavy exercise processes which takes place to provide energy are myoglobin releases its stored oxygen and anaerobic glycolysis. Muscular glycogen from blood, it converts into glucose. Anaerobic glycolysis gives 2 ATP and 2 pyruvic acid and 2 lactic acid into the blood. From high energy creatine phosphatase are also called as phosphocreatine. It is 3 to 6 times more plentiful than ATP in the sarcoplasm of the relaxed muscle fiber. When contraction begins, the formation of ATP from the creatine phosphate occurs very rapidly. ADP, adenosine diphosphate plus creatine phosphate, during the exercise or at rest or during the muscular relaxation, it gives ATP and creatine. What is difference between the aerobic and anaerobic glycolysis? Aerobic breakdown of glucose results in 19 times more ATP production per glucose molecule than an anaerobic glycolysis, because 38 ATPs were produced in aerobic glycolysis, whereas only 2 ATPs are produced in anaerobic glycolysis. Difference between the rigor and rigor mortis. When the muscle fibers are completely depleted of ATP and phosphocreatine, they develop a state of extreme rigidity called rigor. When this occurs after a death, this condition is called rigor mortis. In rigor, almost all of the myosin heads are attached to the actin in an abnormal or fixed and resistant way. What is the efficiency of skeletal muscle when when it contracts? It's about 25%. What is the function of intercalated disc in the cardiac muscles? It provides a strong union between the fibers and helps in increasing the force of contraction of cardiac muscles. What is the function of gap junction? It provides low resistance bridges for the spread of excitation and permits cardiac muscle to function as a functional syncytium, separate each from atrial and ventricular muscle. How many triads are present in the cardiac muscle? There's only one triad per sarcomere. Name electric properties of cardiac muscle: excitability, autorhythmicity, and conductivity. What is pacemaker potential and give its causes? Presence of pacemaker tissue in the heart that can initiate repetitive action potential. It is characterized by an unstable resting membrane potential, that is minus 50 millivolt, because of slow depolarization between the action potential called pre-potential or pacemaker potential. It is due to the slow decrease of potassium efflux, which transiently increases the calcium influx. Why is synovial